So I just want to start in both reading about you and the film, and then even just watching the trailer. It's clearly it was a personal project. I read that you and Doug Goodkin, you met him as a teacher, correct?
Yeah, no, my kids went to the San Francisco school, and they were his students for 8 years when we started to make the film. And I had been an observer of the results of the music class for all that time, and just really inspired and curious. I don't know if you have an arts background, like if you took art class or
Yes.
music or theater. Like
and I have a son, so
okay, and you have a son,
yeah.
right? So when you're in school, but in my generation, it's like there were the people on stage, and then there was the orchestra, and then there were the AV people, and then the scenery, and
Right.
whatever. And I noticed, one of the first things I noticed over the years was every kid does every part. Like every kid does everything. What is going on here? And so when I heard he was retiring, I thought, well, that's kind of epic. After 45 years, is anybody gonna record this? And I'd never made film before, right? So I just was like, I think this is kind of important. If somebody should film this.
And so there's the dramatic tension of the film is what happens to the world while you're doing this. A pandemic comes. That was not part of the plan when you went in to start this film. And so I'm struck that it heightens the narrative, obviously, but it throws probably the biggest obstacle one could imagine into your process. How did you deal with that?
Into the filmmaking process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because never having made a film before, I guess.
So maybe it was better that you didn't.
Right, I had no expectations about
Right.
how it was going to go. But I think in the moment I was just more personally upset with the disruption to Doug's
Right.
story and his life.
Right.
And then, of course, in our filmmaking team, we all have small kids. Like, we were also dealing with COVID and the realization of what it meant for all of our lives. So the film, obviously, like, I was sort of frustrated,
Right.
but more so that it was this disruption for this man who I'd come to really care about, and his all the meaning in his life that got completely switched, where he couldn't finish his career the way that he had always envisioned he would finish it. So I was very sad for him. And then later on, we started to think, like, what are we going to do about the film? We can't interview anybody. There's no classes to film.
Right.
How long is this going to go on, right? So the
Right.
realization dawns on you. Oh, actually, it's a month. Oh, now
Right.
it's 2 months. How long is this going to go? And one of our producers had this idea to ask parents to film their kids doing music class online. And so a lot of the film, that COVID chapter is the last third of the movie, it's footage on people's iPhones of their kids doing music class. And without that idea, we would have had a lot less to work with.
I'm sure.
In that chapter.
But it's utterly authentic because it's from their vantage point.
Yeah, and it was just scraping together, like, what resources do we have?
I was struck, again, something that you had mentioned in your director's statement, but that was also clear in Doug's work, that his approach to teaching and his approach to music was, I don't know, maybe this is too strong, but an antidote to technology. And then all of a sudden, he needs to turn to technology to finish, and you need to embrace it in a way that you probably had never thought about before. Thought, like, I'm doing this because I don't want to do that.
Right.
But it's utterly charming from my perspective as a viewer, because it's real and it's how people coped in that time. And I think about the children, to have someone like him and for you to be able to capture that. I don't know, it's a COVID tale that has a very happy, I know you're saying it's hard for him, but for me, it's a COVID tale that has a very happy ending.
That's wonderful to hear. No, and that's what, it is happy. It is a triumph. It is and I think a lot of people, and teachers especially, can relate to it because they were forced into really undesirable conditions. Forced, like,
Right.
right? No choice.
Right.
And so somebody like Doug, who, you know, in the movie says, this is not a strong suit, you know, when we go into the COVID chapter. And by the end, he's just like wheeling and dealing. Like he got the tools, and he figured out how he could adapt them to his own method, and so he's doing it. And I think what we wanted to say in the movie ultimately was, you know, music and arts education sets us up to be able to improvise in life.
Right.
More so than if we don't have that kind of training, like if we don't have that kind of experience. Everybody, you get up every day, you don't know what's going to happen in your day. You're improvising
Right.
all the time, right? And so life is about, and being human is about meeting the day, whatever is going on. And so we wanted to show, even before COVID,
Right.
we wanted to show, like, what does music education do for people?
Right.
It doesn't only make musicians. It actually, most of the time, doesn't make musicians.
Right.
But how does it improve you as a kid? Why is it necessary? And I think the COVID coming along showed that these teachers, like, it was triumphant because they adapted and they put all of those skills to use, but also their connections with the kids
Right.
came through. If they didn't have that time in the classroom
Beforehand.
beforehand,
Right.
like to really be, the kids are seen, they're known, they have a sense of belonging. Like without that, the COVID part, it would be, you know. I got to say though, there's some teachers out there who did not have synchronous classes. They did videos.
I am well aware.
Okay, and so when I meet them after they see the movie and they come
Yeah.
up to me and they say, "I didn't see a kid for 9 months."
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to talk to them
I know.
and hear that experience, how alone they were.
So you, as we discussed, this was your first feature, but you've had a long history and background as a supporter of the arts, a supporter of education, and that really comes through.
Oh, that's
If you're thinking about a next project, are you staying in this realm, or do you, I always hesitate to say what's next, because we
What's
should be
next?
celebrating the now.
Yeah, no,
But
I get
but
it.
it's the curiosity's there, because you want to see more of art like this.
Wow, well, I so appreciate that. Yeah, so the reason I made this secret song was because I noticed this person who I thought everybody should know about.
Right.
Right, and so that, I think, is driving the next project.
Okay.
Right? I have just filmed actually in Ghana in June, because there were events going on. I really wasn't ready to start a new project, but there were events going on around a music school that was opening in Ghana that I came to know through Doug, James, and Sophia.
Okay.
And so yes, but it's about music teachers, but really on an international scope. The Orff music teacher community on an international scope.
I love
could
that.
go into more ideas, but like it's just an investigation right now.
Okay.
And so as like, you know, documentary filmmaking, I've come to understand is like, I thought I was going to do this, and now I'm going to
see where it
actually,
goes.
Yeah, see
Right,
where it goes. But
right.
I am just like driven by the curiosity and the desire for other people to know and appreciate the music teachers, because I think they're superstars. Like I
Right.
don't understand what gets them up in the morning and keeps them going, because it's so hard.
Yeah.
It might be that hard in every country. I don't know. That's
Right.
what I'm going to investigate.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that. I love
Thank
that. I know, you know, from the number of festivals where the film is played and what's been written about it, to me it seems like you've had a very positive response. But what has it meant, again, for a project that's so personal to you, for someone that you've known, who's nurtured your own children? What has it meant to hear back from people who are touched by this?
It's hard to put into words. Just as a person who's interested in making art, you know, just the fact that people want to watch it
Right.
and will sit and watch it for that period of time
Right.
is so flattering. And the fact then that they want to talk about it with me, for me, it's, I guess, the most addictive part of it is just that exchange.
Right.
Just to hear different things that hit people, We were showing in San Francisco at the Film Festival in June, and that was my favorite audience, but not because it was a local crowd. I could feel that they recognized the things I was trying to say, but just by like a shifting in the seats or like a breathing, I was so thrilled by that audience. Right. So it's just that exchange of like, what did you see? You know, what hit you? And people just want to share that back. And I didn't expect, because I never made a film before, I didn't expect to so much. Right. I guess it really feels like it's a lot.
So you just touched on the last thing I wanted to ask you is, what is it like so you've lived with this film through the filming and the editing and the thinking and to actually sit in a theater, it goes dark, with an audience. Yeah. What is that like to watch your creation with other people?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's like really hard to put into words, but it's kind of different every time.
Yeah.
You know, when you like settle in, I've noticed that, you know, and I've seen the film probably 90 times now, maybe more. I don't know.
Right. I'm sure you see it in your sleep.
I see it in my sleep. But you know, there's not a sense of dread, right? There's a sense of, you know, coming into something that's familiar, sitting in a room that you know very well.
Right.
And you're with other people, you get surprised sometimes by the different reactions during the movie. I know that there was times where the producers and I were surprised that people laughed at certain times.
Really?
You're like, I guess that is funny. You know,
when you're hearing it for the first time,
right? But like, but I will be honest and say that the first time that people laughed, my blood went cold because I was like, oh, why are they laughing right now? Gosh. You know, and so you're met with these certain surprises, but it's a human reaction that you in movies you accept, and you go, okay. Let's go with this, because laughing is a positive reaction, right? Nobody's like uncomfortably shifting in their seats or going, what the hell's going on? Right. They're laughing, they're with you, you know, so this is
they're
good.
Engaged.
Right, and so over the next couple of screenings, when people laughed at that moment, I thought, I'm good with this.
Okay.
I'm good with this. And then I came to expect it or embrace it.
Right.
But then there are different reactions at different times where you go, you learn something. You're like, oh, I didn't know that I was saying that. Right, and that's fun. That's part of the fun.
Part of the discovery.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. It was just it is quite addictive. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner.
Well, you're doing it now, and that's the important thing.
Yeah. But the film festival. I mean, this film festival has been such a wonderful experience so far, and leading up to it, you know, I'm so appreciative that they put the effort into shining a light on first and second time filmmakers.
Right. Just
talking to some of the filmmakers last night, you know, and just being free to say, is this weird to you? Because it's totally weird to me, because they're also experiencing it for the first time.
And I can say from a community standpoint, it's been amazing to have these films and the filmmakers come to our little tiny town, and we have the opportunity to, you know, go out of our homes, not turn on Netflix. I mean, I love Netflix, believe me, but to be able to see films that we wouldn't normally have access to in a theater, and experience that as a community. And I think you really see that with this festival, the way the community responds to the films, to the venues, to Lloyd and Jay, to you all, as very welcoming and grateful that you're sharing your art with us too for these 4 days during the year.
It's just you know, anyone's film is just a drop in the bucket. Like there's so many. That's one other thing I've been struck by, you know, going around to the festivals we've been in, is talking with filmmakers and feeling their pain, frankly, of how hard they worked on their project and how long they worked on the project, and the raising of the money and all of the creative decisions. Like people, and I'm also struck by the volume of films out there. Right. You know, that there's people doing this that your film won't ever be seen by the amount of people. So it's just, for us, it's just been a constant appreciation of like being accepted, being seen. I just like can't, you know, I can't put it into words like how meaningful it's been. I feel really spoiled, really, really lucky. And just every time, just like, I can't believe we're going to show the film again today at 2:00. Like, that's so cool.
I love it. Well, my hope is that for Doug and all the other Doug Goodkins out there who have done this for decades see this and feel appreciated. And I hope that
Yeah.
there are future Doug Goodkins who see this and say, I want to be that. That's who I want to be. I want to do that for people. So thank you.
Yeah, oh my God, thank you. Thanks for asking me here.
You're welcome.